Fake news can be defined as false or misleading information that is presented as regular, legitimate news. It is one problem within the larger media environment of mis and disinformation, where inaccurate information is respectively inadvertently or deliberately created and spread. Wardle identifies 7 types of fake news. Satire or parody, that is made as a joke with no intention to harm but potential to fool. False connection, where headlines, visuals, or captions don't support the content. Misleading content, the misleading use of information to frame the subject. False context, genuine content but false contextual or background information. Imposter content, where genuine sources are impersonated. Manipulated content, when genuine information or media is manipulated to deceive. Fabricated content, that is entirely false. McKee and Deathelm pose that scientific denialism, the production of false facts to reinforce pre-held beliefs, could also be categorized as fake news. Fake news has been a growing cause for concern over the past decade, with the UK House of Commons commencing parliamentary inquiry into the growing phenomenon in 2017. UNESCO gives 4 root causes for fake news: loss of confidence in traditional media, low levels of critical thinking and news literacy, shift in business models, and malicious actors. In a study of North America alone, it was found that over 60% of the population accessed news through social media as opposed to traditional newspapers and magazines. The majority of people having access to and receiving most of their information from social media can mean that there is a state of media pluralism. Consumers don't have to receive their news from institutional or mainstream sources. Thus, alternative sources appear. Clicks equal money. Clickbait generates more traffic, thus more revenue. One writer claims that he earns $10,000 a month in ad revenue from fake news websites. Sensationalist titles create popular appeal by being provocative, and fake news can easily become viral. False political information in particular can spread 3 times faster than other types of fake news. Social media makes it especially easy to spread all types of misinformation on Twitter. For example, articles can be retweeted with the press of a button, and discussion is easily accessed through replies. Developers have implemented a feature attempting to combat misleading information. However, it relies entirely upon user contribution for both creation and submitting reports for content. Tim Berners-Lee, the inventor of the World Wide Web, stated in 2017 that fake news was one of the 3 most significant internet trends that must be resolved if the internet were to be capable of benefiting humanity, the other 2 being government surveillance and cyber warfare.
Fake news has had a large impact on the public perception to politics and medicine, as well as the general creation and spread of misinformation. This impact is exacerbated by the press, those within the sphere of journalism, either acting as part of a reputable source or as independent journalists. Independent journalists are more likely to be responsible for the creation and spread of fake news, as those acting as part of organisations are required to adhere to journalistic ethics, as well as organisations' own journalistic guidelines. As mentioned previously, those who create and spread fake news do so for a particular gain, like financial benefit, to influence political thinking, to gain a larger following, to promote nationalism, or even as acts of terrorism. Shapilova and Baikadorova, 2017, posit that terrorist organisations use fake news to provoke anger and fear in a particular audience, for example fabricating videos of torture by military. Some of the most pivotal events in politics in recent years have been heavily influenced by fake news. For example, Brexit, the USA 2016 presidential election and Donald Trump's subsequent presidency, and the French 2017 presidential election. For example, 2 days before the final vote in France, there was a leak of over 20,000 emails related to the campaign of Emmanuel Macron. The emails were claimed to show evidence of Macron's criminal wrongdoings, including fraud and tax evasion. However, Macron claimed that the few legitimate documents had been mixed with false ones to sow doubt and disinformation. An examination by Numerama 2017, a French news website focused on digital technology, described the emails as quite mundane. The extent to which this incident affected the voting outcome is debatable, considering France has a mandatory media blackout that prohibits election and campaign from 44 hours before the election, as required by electoral law. Shapilova, 2020, posits that the most vulnerable targets of fake news tend to be those who are particularly impressionable, such as adolescents. This is why it is so important that we develop effective education on fake news, including how to identify it.
With so much spreading so fast, it is vital that people learn how to spot fake news. In most cases, the following 8 steps will help readers to discern whether or not a news article is real or fabricated. Consider the source. Investigate the site. What is its mission? The type of content does it most regularly publish? Check the author. What do they normally report on? Is there a consistent viewpoint being promoted? What do they promote on their own social media accounts, like Twitter? Are they even real? Check the date. Oftentimes, sensationalist titles are shared years after original incident. They are not always relevant to current news. Read beyond. Headlines are the first paragraph of a news story aimed to grab your attention and can be outrageous. What's the full picture? Sources. Does the given information actually support the story? If data or an academic journal is used as a source, and you are not sure what it means, the researchers are usually happy to help if you reach out to them. Is it satire? If it seems too outlandish to be true, it just might be. Satire news cities are commonplace. Check to be sure. Check your biases. Consider if your own beliefs could affect how you interpret the article. Ask the expert. When in doubt, you can always visit a fact-checking website or even contact a verified expert in the field.
This all depends on the reader being aware that what they are reading might be untrue or misleading. A student's likelihood that they will fall susceptible to misinformation can be amounted to several factors, such as the lack of media literacy, ignorance, and general distrust. Survey evidence from recent years has suggested that a third of students were not educated on fake news, nor had discussed the topic with educators. Fake news consumption by students, especially when viewing news solely through social media, can negatively impact the trust they have in genuine news sources. Without being informed on how to identify it, students can be influenced by fake news. What can educators do? Hobbes posits that it's best to provide aid to students with identifying fake news, for example, by increasing media education and informing students on what fake news is, and the various branches of it that exist. Bauer and Kane argue that educators should encourage proactive and involved exploration of fake news through collaborative work with students in class discussions, in order to further students' insight and provide them with varying perspectives and explanations, as well as giving them the opportunity to clarify their own doubts. Marchi advises against promoting distrust in the media, as this may increase skepticism in legitimate sources, which may draw students to illegitimate sources. They say that by opening a clear channel of communication between educators and students, the student will be able to access a variety of sources and increase their media diversity and literacy. Fedorov puts emphasis on media competence, informing students on how to use, analyze, and evaluate media and how it functions in society. Kaufman focuses on journalistic studies, by teaching the next generation of journalists to be critical and experiential on local and cultural levels. They will be able to disseminate fake news through their own work.
However, there are limitations to the extent to which educators can help. Media literacy education may have a limited focus on traditional forms of media, such as print and broadcast, and may not fully address the wide range of digital media and online platforms that are prevalent in today's society. It may also not adequately address visual literacy skills, such as interpreting and analyzing visual media elements, which are increasingly important in the digital age where visual media is pervasive. It may also not sufficiently explore the social, cultural, and contextual aspects of media, including issues related to power dynamic, representation, and media ownership. There is also a limit with the educator themselves. To teach media literacy requires that the educator themselves be fully literate in all forms of fake news. Educators are not insusceptible, and technology is evolving constantly. With new platforms and techniques appearing constantly, it can be difficult to catch up. Additionally, as discussed, fake news where illegitimate express spread misinformation that conflicts with general expert knowledge leads to a loss of trust in actual experts. This includes educators.
As mentioned previously, fake news is evolving to be less discernible. One example being deepfake technology, where hyper-realistic videos of individuals can be completely fabricated and can be very difficult to identify. Certain methods for identifying fake news are also less effective. For example, online fact-checking systems such as FactCheck and PolitiFact use experts for manual detection. and therefore take time for review and publish, causing delays in the release of information. Additionally, most of the existing fact-checking systems focus on the political news. The practical applicability of this system is therefore limited due to the diversity of news type and formats and the rapid spread of disinformation.